Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You can navigate the legal and emotional journey of divorce and exit a marriage the way you entered it, with mindfulness, love, and respect. Solace Divorce Mediation is a full-service law practice helping couples focus on the health and well-being of children and their forever co-parenting family. Our streamlined divorce journey offers flat fees with an estimated completion time frame of 2 to 4 months. If you or a friend need us, visit solacedivorce.com.
Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. But you walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
The train is here. It's here. Get on board. We are ready. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. We are here. Got on that Versace, y'all. That's because I dressed up. Special guest in the house today. That's right. Dr. Joe Burns is here. So, I got to always put on my best when he's here. I'm so excited. How you doing today? Dr. Joe is out in Las Vegas, where they, like so many other states out there in the western portion of the country, are experiencing that heat wave, average of 110 degrees every day. I used to live there, but I'm telling you, don't worry, it's dry heat. Yeah, it's still hot, but yeah. Hey, I can think of worse situations. Could you think of some? Right. So anyway, Dr. Joe is here. We're happy to have him, and I'm most happy that you're here. Why? Because together, every day, Monday through Friday, we come together with the same heart, spirit, mind, spirit of pouring into each other. And when that happens, that promise of two or more coming together. Spiritual magic is the result. So what's not to love about that, right? So listen. I don't have any announcements today. I really don't. So I'm just going to get to it because today I always look forward to, all my guests, but in particular, topics that are not easy for me to approach. And money is one of those topics. It is not one I like to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is. I think they should always, they say, you don't want to bring up religion. You don't want to bring up politics. Well, a lot of us don't want to bring up money, right? So today, Dr. Joe is here to pour into us regarding the relationships that we have with our money. A lot of us don't think of it as a relationship, but it is. It truly is. And we're going to get into that today. So I want you to have your questions ready, your comments ready from wherever you're watching. Please put it in the comments. And there are a couple roads to Dr. Joe. And I'm going to make sure that you get those in the comment section before we get out of here today. How's that sound? So that's the Bella purpose. It's here every day. Not a gimmick, not a show prop, but more of an opportunity, if you would. It is there to remind us when I ring it. Should remind us, hopefully, that there's some truth on the table because the truth has a ring to it, just like that bell. And we need to constantly practice hearing the truth, feeling the truth, and leading with, you guessed it, the truth. And so I am going to kick things off this morning with the first, can I get an amen up in here, right? Thank you so much. Drop yours in the comment section. And so even though Dr. Joe's been here, it's been a minute, and I want us to be on our P's and Q's. So here we go. We're bringing him to the stage, and we're going to roll out the virtual red carpet, present him with a virtual standing ovation. How do we do that? Easy. Put some hearts on the screen because here it comes, Dr. Joe Burns. Howdy. How are you, Dr. Joe?
Doing great. How about you, Dr. Lauren?
I'm
good
awesome.
Morning so far.
I know it. How you dealing with all that heat out there?
Man, it's been, just don't go outside during the day.
Well, that's clear. I'm like saying I thought you'd have one of those Band de Soleil tans.
Oh man, no, I'd burn. So I stay inside. I go out I go out, I got to go work out, and I've been working on my body this year.
Have
I
you
did a
now?
cool workout in the pool. So we go to the municipal pool here that's covered. Thank heavens. Otherwise I would be kind of super red. But it's so hot. The water in the pool is actually warm too. Like all of it, even like at 13 feet.
Like bath water.
Yeah. Like it's
I know.
so hot.
I know. I hope you don't mind. I eat my breakfast here on the show. So I've got my almond crunch Cheerios with banana.
It's delicious.
It is. So wait a minute. Back it up. You said you're working on your body.
I am. Like that's like my goal for this year. I got really sick the end of last year. It wasn't COVID, but complications of COVID. But I got to the point where I couldn't even really walk up the stairs without being winded. And I'm only 44, and I'm like, my lungs are getting trashed, and I was active. I mean, I play ice hockey, so I was super active. But yeah, like, looking at my life, as we look at everything overall and the relationships we have everywhere, like one I wasn't very good at was the relationship with like my health. So I've been working a lot on that, and I work out like 4 days a week now, and found some things that really resonate with me and I'm having a lot of fun with. So it's been a lot of fun to
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. Like I feel so much better. I mean, I'm tired when I work out, but I mean, case in point, like last night I went to the store and grabbed some potatoes, and I was going there for a couple other things. And I'm like, oh, while I'm here, I should get some potatoes because we're almost out. And so I grabbed like a 10-pound bag of potatoes, and I just like picked it up and just walked to the register. Like I didn't even have a cart. And I thought on my way over there, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually feeling pretty good. Like this 10 pounds of potatoes doesn't feel heavy, and I had a bunch of other things in my other hand. So I'm like, this is good. Like this is like a small win for how my body's feeling and, kind of how I've gotten back in some type of shape, but just more overall health. So.
Absolutely. And 44, that's my angel number.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the best years of my life. I'll never forget 44. Let me ask you something. So you said when you just mentioned, this bag of potatoes isn't heavy, but our topic today is heavy for a lot of us. It really is something we don't like to talk about. So first of all, before we get all deep down in it and scare everybody off, just kidding. I want to just dip out for a second. I'd like to give the guests just a moment to create their own vibe with the audience and just, tell them a little bit about you've been here before, so I didn't want to read a resume or a bio. I just thought I'd let you introduce yourself. So now's that time. Here's your chance. I'll be back in just a minute. All you, take it away.
Thanks. Dr. Joe Burns. The crazy thing is, you look at my history and look at like what brought me to money. Like a lot of people wonder why I talk about money now. When you look at my resume, I was in the IT field for my career and done computer stuff. And really it comes back to a lot of trauma, a lot of ahas in my life, figuring out that, there's this resource called money and we can have a better relationship with it if we try, right? Like change it and create it as, really look at it as a person. So when I started doing that, I started having more success. And it was pretty wild. Like when I look back at it, coming from a place of being a 6-figure earner in the corporate world, but still feeling broke and needing help from my church, helping my wife out with PTSD and a lot of mental health issues. And kind of being in that dark place. And then, fast forward to now to figuring out, hey, if money's a relationship and we can start getting a better relationship with it, like we do with our best friends and with our family or those who we want close to us, then what happens? And so as I started kind of playing around with that, life started getting a little easier when it came to money. I started having a lot of ahas and things coming out. So as I put that focus on money specifically, but I really talk about 5 different resources we have in life that all kind of act the same way.
Yeah. The relationship with money, when we really think about it, it ties into it leads oftentimes into a lot of those areas that don't really serve us. We get fearful, desperate, just a scarcity mindset. And of course it's attached to a lot of things, low self-esteem, I'm not worthy, all kinds of things. But here I want to start here. A lot of people, myself included, I've always thought about, well, I don't need to learn about money, or I don't need to really have a system until I have enough to justify having a system. A lot of people, it doesn't matter. It's not like it used to be back in the day where paycheck to paycheck was the minimum wage earner. Today, people that make 6 figures are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's a little daunting. It can be a bit scary. And so let's start off by talking about what is the mindset that makes so many people feel that they are inadequate when it comes to developing a positive relationship with whatever amount of money it is you have your hands on or are, moving towards manifesting.
Yeah. 100. It's crazy because like you pointed out already, like it doesn't matter how much we have, it will always be a problem until we take care of the emotional side. Right? Because money elicits a lot of really crazy emotions inside of us. And why that happens? Well, I mean, there's a lot of trauma in all of our pasts. Not very many people are actually taught about money from a young age. We're shown what to do with money, which is, I mean, I know in my household, it was always fighting. It was always stressful conversations. So what are we going to grow up as children? But thinking like, oh, if I'm talking about money, it's going to be a stressful conversation. I don't want to have stress in my life, so I'm just going to stop talking about it. Right? That's kind of where we all start. And then we run across people who said, oh, hey, look, if you want to know, like, if you want to grow your wealth or any of that, you need a budget, right? Everybody starts with a budget. And I rarely ever talk to my clients.
Excuse me, no cursing on the show. It's a family show. Don't use the B word. I'm kidding,
right?
I'm kidding. But that's how a lot of us look at it.
We do, and we sit down, and the problem with budgets are not that the budget doesn't work, but that we're so traumatized every time we look at the budget, we just stop looking at it. Right? So we find all these things in our lives that are supposed to help us be more financially stable, help us be, more financially responsible, right? We hear all these things, except for nobody ever talks to us about, hey, what's our relationship with this money stuff? And how is it making us feel? Because guess what? We're not going to do things that make us feel bad. That's why nobody likes talking about money. I love the conversation. But like you said in the beginning, like, I mean, it's kind of that unspoken Thanksgiving Day or family gathering conversation that we don't talk about. We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics, and we don't talk about money, right? As soon as somebody brings up some, oh, we can't even, and that's crazy because then we can't even celebrate, hey, I got this new job or this really cool thing happened in my life that's bringing more income to my life, because then we don't want to make somebody else feel bad about it. Right?
Yes. I got a couple. Oh, hold on, I'm writing one down. Two things. And I don't know if you've ever approached these two subjects in an interview, but you're about to. The first thing I want to ask about is a lot of us have lost deep, abiding relationships, family, friends, the people closest to us many times, all over the loaning of money or borrowing money.
Yeah.
Talk about that. No one ever teaches about how do you effectively loan or borrow money from people close to you. It can really tear down, relationships that are decades, have been decades in the making. And then family. I know I have family who they haven't spoken in 50 years over money.
Yeah.
So do you have any suggestions regarding the loaning or borrowing of money?
A couple, and this is not something a long time ago I heard someone say, and I won't say who it is. A long time ago, I heard some sound advice, and it's really the advice my wife and I have lived by for our entire marriage. We've been married for 22 years. I never, ever, 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 ever loan money to a family member or friend. No, and some people go to me, wait, Joe, but what about if they give me all these scenarios? I'm like, I never loan it, right? And it comes down to the language we use, because if we loan it, we look at a couple different things. A lot of times, if we loan it, we probably don't have it to loan.
Right.
And that's where the discord in the relationship starts to come, because we're overextending ourselves because somebody else needs some money. And it's not always that case, because I do know really good relationships where parents loan to kids and kids pay back, and it's actually pretty good. They have a good system. But for the most part, right, we're going to talk the generality of the populace. So I never loan money, but I've given money to a lot of family members.
See?
Right. And that's the thing. Like, when it leaves my hand, I never, ever, ever, ever expect to see it back. I have to go in with that mindset. Otherwise, I start to lose, and I start to really regret that relationship, right? I've created some weird peace between me and somebody that I really love. And like you're saying, like, you see people who friendships like decades and it just crumbles.
Yeah.
Right? One thing I really hate too, and you see this like in business dealings with friends. They'll use the age-old adage of, it's just business, it's not personal. And I'm like, no, that's never. Anytime it has to do with money, it's always personal.
To the deepest level.
Yeah, because it is a relationship. And that's how we have to look at it. Because if we don't, then we bypass all the pieces of what relationships are and all those building blocks that get us to connect with people. Right. And money's no different. And if it gets injected in there without a sound perspective of what we're going to do and how we're going to interact, then it really messes with that relationship, because the emotions that come up because of money, because of our money stories and how it makes us feel and how we respond. And that's really important as well, how we respond to those emotions, because we'll always have emotions about money.
Yes.
Right. And usually they're like chaotic and they'll come up and we're like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And it's all crazy. So when we inject those kind of feelings into a relationship with another human being, it can cause a lot of damage.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know,
So
and a
that,
lot of
again, that would be
people,
my just, if you have the money and somebody's in need, give them the money with the expectation of
I'm
never
not
getting it
seeing it
back.
again.
And
That's
you'll have a
I
great
learned
relationship.
that in the last couple of years with a family member, and it worked. I was like, I'm not loaning you, I'm gifting you.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, I haven't heard anything about money from them since, including, okay, thanks. But it helps me breathe easier, sleep easier about it. So I agree 1000% with that. But what is it, Dr. Joe, that makes so many people not, I know they have great intentions when they borrow from a person, but then they don't pay it back, or they put it last. They don't put it as a priority, like a
Yeah.
bill. Why is it that people don't see borrowed money from a friend or family as important as paying on time as they would their electric bill or their mortgage or their car payment?
Yeah. I think,
I don't get it.
look, I don't either. Right. It really concerns me when we look at emotions and relationships and all that, because of the way it is. And I think most people are, because you're not going to come after them, right? These other entities will come after them, make their life miserable. They would rather hope for some type of love and grace from somebody they know, and hope that they can get that. And I always sit on the side of people aren't malicious, but like things fall apart because we don't take care of them, right? Those relationships.
Yeah.
Um, and you just end up at the bottom of the list of things to do, because you can be negotiated with,
Right.
because they know you, and then it turns into this weird conversation, because on the other side, like, we as humans aren't really modeled how to deal with hard conversations either, right? Conflict as
Yeah.
well. Like, we just
Yeah.
don't. So it becomes this kind of conflict conversation that we just kind of push underneath the table, and one day we'll take care of it. Um, but I think really, like, most people in those situations, they have good intentions.
Mhm. You know
It
what they
just,
say about that.
yeah, right.
Well, and another thing is too, to be completely fair about it, I know for a fact, because I've done it. People assume, you know, they look at what they see that you have, how you live. And I tell people all the time, it's not easy. We just make it look that way. And they assume that, oh, they won't miss it. Oh, and sometimes I've seen people get attitudes. Why can't you get it to me? You got all that, No, I don't.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And it's just, so do you think I think it's should be a thing. It's safer to not just to just not loan money.
Yeah, I again, like, I change the verbiage, and I don't generally either, right? I'm like, I'll help you when I can. But yeah, they look at that and like, oh, here's your lifestyle, you're doing all these things. It's like, yeah, and I have my own struggles, right? It doesn't matter. And that's the thing I always tell people, it's never about the money. So what is it about? Right?
So
When
what
we
is
look
it
at our
really
own lives,
about?
right? And we
Hmm.
all are at different stages, and doing different things, and have different ambitions. And I might have money in the bank, and I probably have it earmarked for some project or something I'm trying to build, or especially my business, right?
Hmm.
Or I might have it there as reserves for months when they're not so good as other months, right? So you have to look at that and be like, come tell me what you need, and I'll say whether I can do it or not, right? I'll say yes
Right.
or no. And that's part of the thing too, is a lot of times we have a hard time saying no, because our heartstrings get pulled, right? And we're like, oh,
True.
but I'm a good person. If I'm a good person, then I'm going to help them out.
Right. And people know how to play on that if
Yep.
they know you're like that.
Yep.
So let's go to the solutions for a moment. We'll go back to the B word, because I every time I have someone on the show like this, or even in my own journey, it always begins with budget. Even if you go past it and act like I don't want to talk about that, you got to come back to that to really make change. So, how walk us down? What is the first thing you do? You take the piece of paper out, or you boot up your computer. Now what? Where do you Google, show me a budget plan, or give me a template for a budget? How does a person know how to create a budget if they've never budgeted?
I mean, I start really simple, and I have one I call my no judgment budget,
Talk
because
about it.
it's literally a Google Doc that I have one column for my personal expenses, one column for my business expenses, and one column that says here's the income that's coming in this month. And it's just like really tracking, because again, if we look at why people don't want to do it, and this is why I like rarely talk about budgets with my clients, because I know how triggering they are, right? I never start with a budget. Like, I mean, I gave a budget exercise to one of my clients this last week, but she's been working with me for like a month and a half now, right? Because I know that the budget isn't the problem. Now it is a problem, right? If your money's just coming and going, you don't know where it's going, right? We still need to know where it is in your life. But the emotional side is so much more important. So I always start there, right? How are you feeling about money? Let's start there. Let's ask that question. How do you feel about money? And then let's dive into those pieces. So when we get to the part where we can do the budget and we can start actually looking at numbers, we're actually going to continue to do it, and we're going to investigate where our money goes, right? Because a lot of people don't know. They haven't earmarked. They don't do budgets. So
Yeah.
they know they have money coming in. They know they can pay their bills, and that's the end. But it's like, okay, now let's start telling your money where it's going.
That's what
right?
a lot of us think. Once I have my bills covered, I can do whatever the hell I want to do with the rest of
Yep.
this, and not even with giving it a thought of putting something away for a rainy day or investing and this and the other. And we're going to get to that too, because that's a big piece. I think that needs more conversation. As far as like investing money, a lot of people, even me, I always think that, well, okay, when I have a boom month, then I'm gonna, think about investing or this and the other. But what I find, Dr. Joe, is I will push back on some of a thought process. I'll entertain it for a brief second, but I'll spend an hour deciding, where do we want to go to eat Friday night? And not even think about, when we go to restaurants, I just order, I don't care how many drinks it is, or I will pick up the tab, even when I didn't intend to. And I'm like, the next day, it was $400, $500. And you're like, shit, what was I thinking? You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I don't understand that. Why doesn't something say, you might want to?
Yeah.
How do we fix that?
And here's the thing. It comes down to really two things. One, all of our money problems have to do with trauma of abandonment.
Really?
Yep. And so we learned that as children. And I'm not saying like, because I know, you grew up in foster care and all that, like you've had quite the childhood.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, right? Comparing trauma doesn't ever work, because trauma is trauma, right? Things that we experienced or perceived as children is our truth. And that's really where we got to start. What's our truth? How do we feel? And so when we look at stuff like that, I always equate money to like a mirror, right? It's like looking back at us. That's why I like using it. Like I said, I talk about money being one, but I talk about 4 other resources we have, right, in life. What's our energy at, our time, the idea pool we have of things we want to do, and relationships. But money is the coolest one to talk about, because we can see results like within 30 days, right? We have more money in our bank account or we don't. So if we think and equate money to a mirror, like we're standing in front of the bathroom mirror looking back at ourselves, right? That's like our bank account, right? How much money's in there. When that mirror grows, so we have a surplus, that mirror gets bigger, we see more of us, right? And that's when we spend more, because we don't want to see all of that of us, because we're not ready to.
Right.
And so we'll spend, right, and essentially shrinking that mirror down to the size where we are comfortable, right? So, and it's different for everybody. Everybody has different thresholds. But we'll see ourselves go through cycles of this, right, where we'll make more, we'll spend more. We'll make more, we'll spend more. Sometimes we'll save some. But there's these cycles we go through, and it's all emotionally driven.
Great point right there, emotionally driven. So I want to ask you, why do you feel it is? Because I haven't seen it. Why is it, there's no shortage of personal development content out there. And even at events, not just books and things like that and courses, but events, live events. personal development rarely includes a piece regarding money. They always talk about, making it, dangling the carrot, you want to be, who wants to be a millionaire? Boom, 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 boom. But that's pretty much it. And people go, I do,
Yep.
but inside of the personal development piece about daily grounding and things that don't serve you, boom, 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 especially wherein it pertains to our spiritual work, which is a big piece of personal development. Why do you feel that there's never much mention of the relationship with money in there?
Yeah, it's crazy. Everybody always goes to what I call the IQ, right? What are the tactical things to make money? But they never look at the emotional side, the EQ side. And yeah, I've run into a few people who teach about it, but not very many.
Not very many at all.
No, and I think it's because it's so polarized. They look at it like, well, I can just become a good person, and then you get nothing against them, but like the abundance or manifestation coaches, I'm like, those are cool, and let's dive a little deeper and look at some things underneath that instead of just like willfully hoping that stuff happens to us. Let's to be a little more active in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something. It's kind of funny with my whole like where I came from and what I'm doing. I kind of stumbled upon it. I'm like, hey, there's this cool correlation. I was reading a book one time, and I'm like, there's this cool correlation between how we feel about ourselves and the trauma we've experienced, and like how it's manifest and how it's shown to us via our resources, right? Money being one of them. Kind of this weird, I don't know. I just kind of stumbled upon it, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And so the way my brain goes, I'm like, okay, so how can, like, what's the deeper level to this, right? And I started really diving into it and kind of making some of my own kind of bridges between things. But as I started implementing them and trying them, I started having results. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But I think a lot of times we feel like money's just back to the original question, right? In the personal development area, I think most people just see it as a resource in our life, not as a relationship. And they're just like, oh, that's just a resource. Like it'll be there or not be there. And really we need to focus on how we feel, and especially the personal development world, like, how I feel about myself and all these different things that are happening in my life. How can I become a better person? And when we apply those same things to ourselves with the lens of money, then we can actually start bringing in more of that, right? It ends up being a byproduct of the work we're doing with the focus there, right? What we focus on, we get more of. And so as we add that on top, then we start to accumulate more. We start to see how that relationship might not be healthy. And it doesn't matter how much you make, right? We all have these problems.
So you mentioned that you have clients. So what do you officially call your type of coaching?
That's a good question. I've called it lots of different things. I call myself a money EQ specialist. And I do more. I mean, it's some coaching, a lot of consulting, because people bring problems. They're like, hey, I want to make, a lot of times people come to me and say, hey, I want to make more money. And I'm like, okay, we can start with that. But that's really, and it's been hard. And a lot of people be like, oh, Joe, that's not good for your business, right? But Dr. Lauren, I mean, a lot of people don't understand it from that perspective. So I've been trying to find ways to connect with people the best way I can, in a way that makes sense to them.
Do you find, Dr. Joe, that a lot of people who could really benefit from working with a person like you, one of the biggest, I'm just assuming, and I'm using my own self as that litmus test, if you will. I know that it took me a long time when you're dealing with money and it's almost paycheck to paycheck or paycheck to paycheck. The time never feels right to take money from one place, even if it's your extra for entertainment and just quality of life, to invest in yourself. I would always put myself last, like I can't afford to get a coach now. I can't afford to take that course. I can't afford to get a VA. So I'll just keep doing everything, kind of shooting myself in the foot. So how does a person, what would you recommend a person do to get out of their own way and invest in something that is a bit daunting, a little bit scary, and it's very personal? That's what kept me from it, even with my systems coach a couple years ago. When we came to the financial section of the year, I was like, oh my God, Mercine on Thursday. I have a headache. I'm going to have to reschedule. Or I was terrified, but he knew that already and kind of just like coddled me and gave me small bites to take.
Yeah.
And it took a bit. I'm going to be honest with you. It took a bit. And it was very surprising to me, Dr. Joe, that I was so intimidated. Yeah, because I'm not a numbers person, but people that are good at math and science still have financial issues, difficulties, challenges.
Yeah.
So how does a person go about finding help that is the right fit for their particular situation? Credit card debt reduction, investments, retirement, just learning how to save, creating a budget. They're all different things. Should we look for a one size fits all kind of guy or gal, or should we look for a specialist in that particular area? What's your suggestion?
My suggestion is always understand that most of this is going to be an emotional response to how you're feeling about money, like yours was, right? Mine was the same when I first started out. I get a lot of clients who come in. I have a client right now. He's funny. He's 71.
Oh,
And he's tried everything, right? And the sales call with him was long, but I'm in it to win, right? My goal is to help people feel better about how they're feeling about money. And he went back and forth. He's like, "What's your process?" Because he wanted kind of some of the same things you're asking. That's why I bring him up. Like what's your methodology? And he'd done a lot of like a lifetime of learning, right? But he knew he had a big relationship problem with money. And I'm just like, here's what I do. And I kind of explain the process. I'm like, you bring me what your goal is, and we're going to talk about like what happens with money. Right.
so how do you do it?
How?
Like how, yeah, walk us down the path, the primrose path of how you work with people to get them to have a different, to look at their relationship with money through a different lens.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Hey, Joe, what do I get a lot of homework, all that stuff?" I'm like, we literally just, I work with people. Most of my clients are like on every 2 weeks, they come talk to me, right? We have like a half hour to 45-minute conversation. They pretty much, it's not therapy, okay? I'm not a therapist. I just want to put that out there. Not a therapist, a coach,
Right.
consultant. But it could be what people feel like is therapy, right? They come to me and say, "Hey, I'm having this problem. This is how I feel about it," right? I always go back to the emotions because that's the thing really driving us. So it's really just a coaching call, a conversation. I usually give them a small amount, like I really promise a small amount of homework to say, "Hey, go do this." Because what I do know is that if I can get you to
Like
do
what? What would be a typical homework assignment? Go do. Well, first of all, let's role play. I'm your client. I come in and you say, "So tell me about your financial situation." Yeah. And I say, "Okay, I can do that. Here you go."
Cool.
Literally. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. And these aren't a pile of bills, but this is all the stuff that generates income, and this is what I do. Believe it or not, and every Sunday I actually do put all this stuff away. It's just every Sunday once a year.
Right? Because what does that pile mean to you, right? I would say probably anxiety, some fear, right?
Excuse me. Excuse me. It's really oh my God. See? I'm triggered.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I tell myself it's my process. It's my disorganized, organized, my messy brilliance. I tell myself that.
And I would say, right, it's the process that's kept you safe. So that's why you use it.
But my adoptive mom used to say, when my bedroom looked like that as a kid, and she'd say, "Clean it up," and I'd just shut the door. And she'd say, No. She goes, "Because what's going on in there is a pretty good indicator of what's going on in here."
100%.
So let's talk about that. Are there outward signs in our everyday lives that could speak to why the financial distress is not really distress at all? It's just it's a learned behavior. Can fear of finances be a learned behavior?
Yeah, 100%. Because we had some experience in the past that told us or taught us that we should be scared of it.
Is this a trauma you mentioned at the front end?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like if you look at parents or people you grew up with, how do they deal with money or money conversations? Right. Most of the time. And that's the thing. Like we don't talk about them. We fight about them. There's always stress involved with it. So us as humans really don't want that kind of stress in our life. So we're just going to avoid it. Right. I know a lot of business owners, a lot of clients that come to me that don't even look at their numbers. They have an accountant do it and they get told when they get to pay taxes, and that's pretty much it.
How long? I know every case is different, but what's the average amount of time it takes for you to work with a person to try to kind of get them to a place where they're like, and the light bulb comes on. They had aha moment where some of the fear at least is removed, and they have a better grasp or more power. They feel more empowered wherein it pertains to their relationship with money. Is there an average time, or is it different for each person?
Oh no, it's 100% guaranteed. 1 hour with me.
What?
Every time. Yep. Now, to instill the behavior, right, I look at like 3 to 6 months, right, when I do that. But seriously, 1 hour with me will change your life.
That's a pretty bold statement, Dr. Joe, if I say so myself.
It is. And I as a data-driven guy, I started out with that hypothesis back 6 years ago when I started coaching on money. And I have yet to be wrong.
What is that based on? That 1 hour. What is it? What switch do you flip on?
I challenge people's perspective, and in that they can build a new one.
Is this a temporary thing?
I challenge their truth, right? Because really, when you look at as we perceive most truths in life, there are perception, our lived experiences, things we've learned, things we've stitched together purposes and meanings for, right? There are some absolute truths, but for the most part, the way we see, like, the adage of, we're living in your world, right? It's your world. We're just living in it. Really, if we take that approach to our lives, we're the main character in our life and everybody else is just like NPCs or stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we can look at it from that perspective, from a healthy way, right? Not in a narcissistic, it's all me, but when in a healthy way, then we can start to rearrange what we've been taught and told. But here's the thing, most people don't ever challenge what they've been taught, especially when they were children, right? We're just like, oh, this is just how you do things. Think of a child like at 5.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. They're experiencing the world for the first time. They don't know. That's why they ask lots of questions as children. And then at some point during childhood, they get tired of being told no enough, or stop bothering me with the why questions, that they start to change their language. It's really fascinating to watch their brain develop in that way, right? And then they find different ways of asking for the things they want. And then we just adapt that way. We're very adaptable as humans. The brain wants to grow and learn and keep us alive, right? It has a lot of purposes to keep us alive. So we can start to challenge those. And that's really what I'm always about, challenging that perspective of our truth. And if we do it over and over and over, asking ourselves why do we do this?
How early, Dr. Joe, in life can a child begin to be taught the true rudiments of a positive relationship with money? A lot of us had piggy banks of one form or another as kids, but that didn't make it stick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? About a purposeful financial education, just like we teach our kids about morals and what's right and what's wrong. Do you feel like a lot of parents don't put enough into teaching children that it is a relationship?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because them themselves don't really know, right? Or don't want to broach it, or they feel bad and they're like, so we just don't talk about it, not because we're trying to withhold from our children. It makes us feel bad, and we're just trying to deal with what we have, and so we just don't talk about it. But I have clients who talk to their kids when they're 4, 5, 6 years old. They give them some money. They have fun with money. They bring it out. Like, I always encourage my clients to have cash that sits out so people can see it, right? Another cool tool is you can actually talk to your money and journal and see what the response is.
Okay, now you're getting into my next question. So hold that thought. When we return from this brief commercial break, we're going to challenge Dr. Joe Burns on, I'd like you to describe to us what a great relationship with money looks like. What does it literally look like? Take us through a day, if you will, when we return, of a beautiful relationship with money. Can you do that?
Yep.
Okay, that's coming up in just about 1 minute. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back with more Dr. Joe Burns and how you have a relationship that you love and can live with your money. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren Michaels Harris, and my guest today is Dr. Joe Burns. And so before we went to break, I asked you if when we came back, you would take us through a beautiful day in the neighborhood of a great relationship with money. So first, though, let's do a little juxtaposition piece. That's the alarm clock. Sam X just woke up, and he has a bad relationship or a poor relationship or, that one that none of us wants, but most of us has with money. How does his day start? And then take us into his twin brother who lives across the street on the sunny side, whose feet hit the floor at the same time, but he's got a great relationship with his money. First.
Yeah. On the downside, you're probably going to get up. He doesn't probably have like a morning routine at all. He probably gets up, might shower, has to get to work. Get ready. So a little bit of routine, but nothing that allows his brain or his body to wake up in a way that is going to start his day off well. Then he's going to probably, eat breakfast, maybe go to work, go through work, hoping, right, that he has enough in his bank account to make it through the day. Might get home, might get the mail, has a bill in the mail that he's like, oh, right. He's like, no, I'm gonna take that envelope, right? I'm just gonna put it on the counter. I'll deal with that later.
Yes.
Right. And goes about living, dinner, maybe watch some TV, whatever. The part that I want to call out for him is that he's throughout the day going to have many opportunities to be triggered by money, which he is. He might be at work, not enjoying work, or something might happen. He's like, oh, I hate this place, but I can't go anywhere else because I need the income. Right. Anybody ever heard themselves say that? I'm here because I have money. Right.
I can't change anything.
Yeah. It's horrible. So I'm just going to deal with it. The bill's coming in the mail. We're like, okay, I'll get to that. I can't pay that today. Maybe next week when I get paid, I can do that. I know I have this much coming in. I'm tired when I get home from work. I might, like you were saying, I might want to go out to eat, but I can't because I don't know how much money I have. Or I might just do it because it's just like, I hate my life attitude and just go do it anyways.
Screw it. It's already messed up.
It's already messed up. So who cares? I'm going to go indulge in what I want right now because today was hard. We look at that, right? So if you look on the other flip side, someone with a great relationship with money,
over there,
right? Brother across the street, going to get up, has a routine to take care of himself in the morning, right? Besides just showering, getting ready, getting prepped, getting his mind ready for the day. Now that might include like some affirmations or declarations real quick in the bathroom. Might include like a journaling exercise I like to give people called Write and Burn, which is where you write down all the garbage in your head, everything you're pissed off about, and then just shred your paper, throw it away, and be done for the day. right? Has
Mm.
some type of routine, right? To set
Because at least
yourself
you've
up.
looked at it. You've faced it.
Yeah.
It's not stalking you through the day.
No, it's not sitting there, because a lot of times we have these little chatty stuff in our ears, right? The little chatters and the little
Thinking.
committee that's telling us, how horrible we are and all this stuff. Get rid of that garbage right first thing, right? We have a better day already.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, he may be at work and be like, hey, I don't really enjoy my job. However, I know that I have some plans to do X, Y, and Z, so I need this income, right? We're changing the mindset already of why we're doing what we're doing, and managing the emotions that come up of why we're not happy, right? If we can find joy, right? And that's what I would see. Person number 2 finds the joy in what they're doing, because they might have something bigger they're trying to accomplish. So they might have a
Joy
job,
in
they might
what
have
they're
something else.
doing.
Yeah.
Joy in what they're doing. So I love that, because I know a lot of people, I include myself, for a long, long time, I thought that once I have that money, everything will feel awesome. Everything will automatically fall into place. And it doesn't work that way.
Nope.
It does not work that way. You can have all of that and still be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people with a lot of money who are miserable, right? So if we look at
Yeah.
person number 2, right, and he may fall into the same place as his brother. He gets home, he might have a bill in the mail, but he's like, okay, cool, set it down. He might not pay it right away, but again, it's how we approach it, how we feel about what's going on, is what makes the biggest difference. The problem is most of us are just going on about life and not paying attention to those small emotional triggers that happen over and over. And so they happen so much that then we just like forget about it. We're like, get away from me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Joe, say a person, says, okay, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to give this guy a call, or I'm going to reach out to see if we can get the ball started. What would you say to that person? Because they may say that here it is 8:52 a.m. Central Standard Time, and by 9 o'clock we could have talked ourselves out of it. It's good when you're facing and someone's forcing you to talk about it, almost. But when you really need to pull the trigger, 99% of us say, I'll do it later. Like you said, what can we use as incentive for ourselves? How do we find that place that says, okay, I'm doing this for real. This time I'm going to do it. I'm going to face my financial woes and I'm going to do something about them. Any suggestions there? Now we have your connectors on the screen. Give someone a clue as to, if they were to come to your website, what are they going to find that might help speak to their spirit as far as come on in and trust me?
There's information about my story, because I'm just like the rest of you all. I didn't figure this out overnight. I'm just a normal guy who lived through a bunch of his own money trauma, and that's what I'm just sharing. Just having real honest conversations about where you're at. There's no judgment ever in my camp.
Does it matter how much money a person has in the bank, or how much money they're making per hour or per year?
Doesn't matter any of that. I work with people from all financial backgrounds, because really it isn't about the money. It never is.
What's the most common reason, Dr. Joe? I'm sorry. What's the most common reason that you find people reach out to you?
It's funny, because I just did a TikTok about this the other day. It's because they finally hit kind of that failure state in their finances. They're just done, right? They get so frustrated. I don't know if you ever felt that way. I kind of did with my body this year, right? I'm like, I'm tired all the time. Well, and I couldn't walk up the stairs, right? So we get to failure a lot of the times, and then we want to find a solution, right? And I'm like, look, how about we find a solution before we hit failure? Because yeah, we can come back from failure, but there's more work involved, right? So with our finances, right, when we hit that point, like I'm always going to suggest, because I know it's scary, like 100%, like you've talked about, I know this conversation is not comfortable.
Right.
It's scary. Because we have all this baggage, and we've turned these stories about how our finances it turns into like a pile of papers on the desk, right? But we take this thing, and the small incident happens, and then we blow it up into a fish story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just gets bigger, bigger, bigger. So, it's really no judgment. It's like just understanding where you're at, what your goals are, and then simple, actionable steps to help you get there.
Help you get there. Dr. Joe, so I put both of the links inside the chat for you now. We've got just about a minute left. If you had one piece of advice for anyone listening now or on the replay about the importance of getting to that place that you've described as possible this hour, what would you think would be that catalyst to get a person to truly consider doing the hard thing, and that just is facing it and deciding to really make something change in their financial world? What do you think that thing that makes the light come on, that pulls the switch and turns the light on? What is it for most people?
It's just them understanding that it's really not about the money, even though they think it is, and that if they hit a certain income level, it's not going to change. So if you can wrap your head around that, then you'll know that how you feel now is how you always feel. So if you don't want to feel that way, then it's time to do something about it.
Does success in what you just described have much to do with how we see the value inside ourselves?
100%. And that's where I always start.
That's what I know
then,
about you. There it is. That's what I know about you. It's not just columns and figures. It has a lot more to do with it, you guys, you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you. It's always a pleasure. Make sure you tell your lovely wife hello from all of us here at Bathrobe Moments. And it's always good to see you. And you listen, you guys, really, just check him out. I'm sure if you just reach out, Joe, you'd be happy to have a free call with people.
Oh yeah. Like
I'll talk
to everybody. There's a link on my website where you can sign up for a free call, and we'll chat about where you're at and how I think I can help. If I can't help everybody, right? And that's the thing. Like, I can't help everybody.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I've created a network of people that I could send to you. So if you're not a good fit for me, then I got people I can send you to that will help you out as well. So
that's right. This guy's the real deal, you guys. So if you just want to find out what's possible for you or someone that you truly adore, I highly recommend you reach out to Dr. Joe Burns and just see what's possible. Just see what's possible. Joe, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much for all you do to help people live their best lives. I really appreciate you and your wife, and tell her congratulations on the novel. So excited about. We need to get her here to talk about that.
I'm working on it. It's early for her. So
all right. Thank you so much. And listen, you guys, come back tomorrow. Kimberly Smith Austin is in the house. She's a speaker from out in the San Diego area, and I'll be joining her on stage at the Accelerator Business Summit here in Chicago, August 31st and September 1st at the Tinley Park Convention Center. I cannot wait. Our keynote that day is Sanjeev Chopra, Deepak's brother. You guessed it right. He was here a few weeks ago. And so she'll be in the house tomorrow, and I don't want you to miss it. Listen, get out there today and be your very best self. And remember, I'll meet you out front on the front porch at 8 a.m. So together we can create another illuminated conversation. So in closing, as always, I love you. And you guessed it. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Lauren.
Great job. Great job. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine.